Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another Shop My Stash. I feel like I get a lot of good feedback whenever I do this. I know that one of the questions that I answered in my 21 question makeup tag was that I feel like the amount of launches is just so overwhelming, and I know a lot of y'all agree with me in the comment section. So I think it's fun to shop our stash, kind of figure out old loves that we had, reuse things, fall in love again, and just show some love to the products that have been in our collection versus trying to just continue to add products. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to stop shopping, but it's become a little overwhelming. So I just want to show some love to some things that I currently have. So that's what we are going to do. I have not corrected my under eyes yet. So I pulled out my Charlotte Tilbury corrector. And even though I wouldn't say this has been forgotten, it's just not one that I reach for a ton. And this is in the shade medium. I don't dislike this, and I especially like how it looks right when I put it on, but I do feel like out of all of the correctors that I use and love, this one doesn't wear as well as far as longevity of coverage. So I feel like my darkness peeks through quicker with this one. And I do feel like I tend to get a little bit more creasing with this one versus other ones that I have in my collection. It's not a bad one, and I know from past comments that a lot of y'all love it. It's just not what I would call my favorite. So I don't tend to reach for it as much. So I figured it would be the perfect time to shop my stash and show it a little bit of love today. I'm going to do a little bit of liquid illuminator underneath my foundation, and this is the Ilia Liquid Light in Nova. So it comes in this pretty packaging. It's a really pretty champagne gold color. Now, with this product, I am not the biggest fan of it as an actual liquid highlight. I prefer it either mixed in with foundation or underneath foundation. I just feel like sometimes it tends to separate the foundation that's underneath it if I put it on top. If that makes sense. So I'm just going to put it underneath on the high points. I mean, you can see how pretty it is. Very pretty. And honestly, with the foundation that I'm wearing today, I don't even know if this is going to show through, but hopefully it will. I just wanted to use it because I haven't used it in a while and show y'all how pretty it is. The foundation that I dug out of my drawers is from Dose of Colors. This is their Meet Your Hue foundation. I'm in the color 117 light medium. And I honestly don't know why I don't use this more, because every time I do, I really enjoy how it wears. So that is 117 light medium. From what I remember, because it's been a hot minute since I wore this, it is more of a matte foundation. At least I remember it not being super luminous. That's why I chose to use that illuminator underneath. But it does have really good coverage. I would say medium to full coverage. And then longevity is definitely there. I do remember that. This wears a super long time. This is my It Cosmetics 115 brush. I'm just taking it like I normally do, my foundation, and stippling it in. So that's the foundation all over. Again, I really enjoy it. I don't know why I don't use it more. And as of the day I'm filming this, which is just a couple of days before I hope to get it up, it is actually on sale at Ulta. So I will have that link down below. Now for concealer, I pulled out my Rare Beauty concealer, and this is, I think, just called the Rare Beauty Concealer. I don't think it's got any kind of special name. I bought this when it launched with the highlight, blush, and foundation. I did not like the highlight. I did not like the foundation. I do remember liking the concealer. However, I have used it maybe twice since I bought it. So this is definitely a Shop My Stash. I need to use this more. I have the color 210 in. So I'm sure everybody knows what this concealer looks like, but it's got kind of a different doe foot. A lot of product comes out on the doe foot, so be careful with that, because if I do remember anything, I believe I remember that you just don't need very much. So I'm just going to dot that under the eye, and I did not dip back into the product. That's how much comes out on the doe foot. and just blend it in. In fact, I think I used actually way too much. It's blending in nice. It's pretty good coverage. I mean, it's definitely not light coverage. I can already tell though I use too much because it's already starting to build up in those little fine lines directly under my eyes. So before I set it, I'll be sure to buff some of that out. I'll kind of let it do its thing and settle in as much as it possibly can before that. And we'll go ahead and start on the eyes. I pulled out 2 palettes to use on the eyes. One, I honestly don't even know if you can get any more, but I have not used this in so long. This is the Balm Meet Matte Adore palette. And then I also pulled out my Pat McGrath. I think this is called the Bronze Ambition palette. If it's different, I will put it down on the screen. That is the only thing I don't like about the packaging from Pat McGrath, is that the name, other than the fact that it's a mothership palette, is not printed on it, but it's this one right here. So the reason that I pulled out the Meet Matte Adore, in addition to the fact it's because I just needed to use it, is because I knew that I was going to need some kind of lighter transition matte color than what was available in the Pat McGrath palette. So I'm going to go in with Matte Bernard, which is this top middle shade right here. It's kind of a warm toned transition shade. And I have primed my eyes. I get asked all the time what I use. I'm currently using my NARS Soft Matte Concealer in the color Honey. So if anybody ever wonders what I have on my eyes before I start filming, that is what it has been for the past month or so at least. So I'm just going to buff that into my crease. This is a Rephr 16 brush. And this is, I don't know if it's because this palette is a few years old or if it's just because it's the formula of these shadows. I remember loving them, but this is coming off way lighter than it on the eye than I anticipated it. So I'm having to build it up a lot. Okay, so what we're going to do, that's going to act as a true transition. I'm going to take a little bit smaller brush. This is the Rephr number 27. And I'm going to go into Matte Jones, which is this one right here. So it's a step darker. This color reminds me a lot of like the MAC Uninterrupted and the Bobbi Brown Camel. It's kind of that really nasty looking greenish brown in the pan, but then it just does kind of magical things on the eyes. That's what I'm going for. So I'm just going to darken up that crease a little bit and have that first color act as a true transition tone to help that blend better. And this is giving me more of the color that I wanted. Now I'm going to take a Rephr number 28, which is a very small, flat, precise brush, and I'm going to go into this really shiny gold color right here, the metallic gold. I'm going to lay it down first with a brush, and then I know I'm going to end up going in with my finger because with these colors, I find that the pigment is best obtained using your fingers rather than a brush. But I'm just going to lay a very light coating of that shadow down before I go in using my finger. So see, I just picked up a ton more product, and then I'm going to press it in, and you'll see how much more that applies to the eyelid. And to brighten it up a little bit, I'm going to take my pinky with this shade right here, this kind of ivory champagne shade, which is such a gorgeous formulation. This is more of a sheen versus a true metallic, and I'm going to put it kind of on that first half of my eye. To brighten it up some, it's going to mix with that gold. I'm not covering all of the gold up, but you can see it kind of brightens that inner corner, which in turn brightens the whole eye look. Now the final thing I'm going to do is take another Rephr brush. This is number 2. If you can't tell, Rephr brushes are my favorite. And I'm going to go into this matte shade right here. I'm going to pick this up. I'm still dreaming of a day where Pat McGrath will launch an all matte palette because her matte formulation is so good. And I'm just going to press that in to this outer corner just a little bit. I'm not trying to go full on super dark. I just want to give some dimension. You can just see the pigment this matte has, the performance. I love her mattes. And I know other people do too. So I'm like, when is the all matte palette coming out? So with that concealer, I'm learning like less is definitely more because it is really sinking into those lines. So I just buffed that out, and then I finally pulled out my brand new Pat McGrath under eye powder. The other one finally bit the dust. I mean, it lasted forever. And this is my Wayne Gossamer 2 brush. I'm just going to set the under eye before we go into set the face. Powder I pulled out is from Maybelline, and it is the Fit Me Loose powder. I have not used this in ages. I used it when I first got it. I remember liking it. I do remember a couple of other things. I don't know if that's what kept me from using it, but we're going to use it today. And I don't know what kind of brush I'm going to use. I think I'm going to use my Jane Iredale chisel powder brush. Now, what I remember, and I'm in the shade 20 light medium. What I remember about this is that it definitely has color to it. So you want to make sure you pick an appropriate color for your skin tone, because while this is a loose powder, I feel like it's got some coverage. And it is definitely not the most finely milled powder that I have ever used. So I felt like it could get a little thick on the face a little fast. So I want to use a little bit more of a like looser brush. But I also remember it being very blurring and very perfecting. And that's kind of what I'm sensing as I apply it. I've seen a lot of people like bake with this powder, and that I can't really comprehend. It's such a thicker powder I'm used to using. I just can't imagine. I mean, I don't bake anyways. I just can't imagine using it to bake. But you can see that just blurred out my face. It's a really pretty powder. I just think it has a little bit of a learning curve if you're used to a lot of other loose powders that tend to be a little bit more finely milled than this. But for the price and the performance, I do really enjoy it. And I need to actually put it in a drawer where will remember it. For bronzer, I pulled out my Jouer Medium to Deep Duo bronzer in Sunkissed and Sunset. I don't know if they still have this or not. I will link everything down below that I'm able to find. But it has two colors, Sunkissed, Sunset. I'm going to start off just using Sunkissed. I remember in the summer, which I believe is when I first got this, in a summer, I don't remember if it was last summer or the summer before, I would mix the two. But I think right now this first shade is going to work. This does have a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's not, I mean, it's not sparkle. I'm using my other big mirror behind me, sorry. This viewfinder doesn't cut it when it comes to bronzer. I like that too. See, I'm remembering how much I love these products. This is why I love Shop My Stash videos. For highlight, this is the, this is a limited edition packaging, but I'm pretty sure you can still get this color. This is from MAC, and it's the Extra Dimension Skin Finish in Oh Darling. So this is the packaging that, I don't remember what collection it was in, but this is the first time Oh Darling was released. And I remember that everybody was saying it was the dupe of Whisper of Guilt. And I had never gotten my hands on Whisper of Guilt, and I wanted this so badly. And this sold out, I remember it vividly, in like 5 minutes. And I was able to get one. And I mean, I've used a little good chunk of it. You can see in the middle. This is a gold highlight, which if you watched my highlight video, you know is not my favorite, but there is a time and a place for it. Now this is also beaming and not as finely milled as some of the other highlights that I have. Like I can kind of see it sitting on my face. So that's probably why I don't reach for this, but the color is pretty if you love a gold highlight and if you like it to be seen. I don't dislike it by any means. I'm just realizing why I probably haven't reached for it in a while. For blush, I pulled out two blushes, and I think I'm going to end up using both of them. The first is by Laura Mercier, and it is their Blush Color Infusion blush in the color Peach. I believe they've come out with 3 or 4 new shades in this Blush Color Infusion. I have 2. I have Rose and Peach, and I really love both of them. They are honestly perfect blushes for me because I tend to be heavy-handed in my blush and bronzer. I think we all know. And these are very sheer to start out and then buildable, which again, for someone who's heavy-handed is really good. Now, I love that color all by itself. That is a matte blush. I knew that the foundation and the powder were going to give me more of a matte finish, so I pulled this out too. Because I haven't used it, I wanted to show it, and it gives a little bit more of a sheen. This is from MAC, and it is the Extra Dimension Blush in Cheeky Bits. I have a couple of these Extra Dimension blushes, and they really are pretty. They do have that like sheen to them, but it's not like the amount of sheen the highlighter had by any means. It just gives a really, I really like to wear these in the summer because it gives a really pretty glowy effect to the cheeks. This is not Shop My Stash, but I am going to buff using my Guerlain Meteorites and Pearl Glow and my BK Beauty 104 brush. I don't always include this in my videos, and I've had some people lately ask me if I still do this step, and I most certainly do. Almost always. There are some times where I don't feel like it's needed, but I would say 90% of the time, I can't talk while the brush is going all over my face, I will do this step. I'm going to go back into that same matte color right down here that we used on the outer corner, and I'm going to take the same brush that I used, except I just put it on the tip of the brush, and I'm going to put just a little bit right here on the outer corner of the lower lash line. And then I'm going to go back into the Meet Matte Adore palette and grab my Refer number 14 brush. And I'm going to mix those two colors that we used in the crease to blend the remainder of my under eye. So the 14 is a little bit bigger than the 13, and I knew that I wanted it to be a pretty smoky effect underneath the eye. I wanted it to come down a little bit further, so I picked a little bit of a larger brush. To finish off the inner corner and brow bone, I'm going to go in with this same ivory color that we used on the inner portion of the eyelid. This one is great to use for this step because it's not a chunky metallic, so you don't risk, like sometimes I like the look of a super metallic inner corner, but I also don't want to risk like particles of that metallic look to get into my eyes, and this one you won't have to worry about that. Before I do mascara, I'm going to shop my stash even for the spray that I'm going to use, and this is the Cover FX Aquamarine Hydrating Crystal Infused Elixir Mist. I enjoy this spray. I don't know why I don't pick it up. It smells amazing. It has a really good sprayer, like mister. It's good. And it can be used before makeup as well. So I'm going to do my mascara off camera. I'm not shopping my stash for that. I'm going to use my beloved Chantecaille, and then we'll be right back to finish lips. Okay, so the only thing we have left to do is lips. Now, I pulled out a couple of products from Persona Cosmetics. I love Persona Cosmetics. I talk about them all the time. They are so gracious to send me all of their new launches. I received all of their new lip liners, and I don't think I've talked about them. So I need to talk about them. This one is in the shade Almond, and it's just a really pretty, like, nude shade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this as a lip liner, and then a little bit in the lips as well, kind of as a base, because I'm going to be putting a gloss on top of it. I mean, that by itself is a gorgeous color. But I'm going to be taking their gloss in Twilight, which, if you can see how sparkly and extra this is, I love it. I thought it went well with the eyes. It's not super opaque. That's why I wanted to lay this liner down under it. But if you want high shine, this is perfect. That's the finished look. Shopping my stash. I honestly am happy with everything. I think the only thing that doesn't look as good as sometimes it typically does are my under eyes, but they still don't look bad. I love being reminded why I love products. I love it. I love showing love to them before I have to throw them out because, y'all, I did a very big declutter the other day and I ended up throwing away stuff that wanted to make me cry because I had used so little of it before it went bad. So I need to be better about using the things that I own. So hopefully this inspired you to do the same. Be sure and check the description box. I will have everything linked as long as I can find it, which hopefully I will be able to. Thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. I hope you're all staying happy, healthy, safe, and sane, and that most of all, you go out and have a very